What's up, friends? Welcome into Fantasy Pros MLB. This is the Q&A live stream. Nope, Joe Pisapia. We traded him in for another Joe. We got Joe Rico. Joe Rico's in the house. Me and Joe are answering your questions for the next hour or so. So all you got to do is load up the chat. I know we got still people coming in here. Load up the chat with your questions. We will hopefully be getting to them. And if you guys have got your big questions, ones that have to be answered, know that we've got super chats. Super chats are enabled where you guys can log your question in with a super chat. It goes front of the line, baby. We will make sure it is either the immediate question or the next question up. So send in those super chats for guaranteed answers to questions. Otherwise, let's get them bad boys going and we're going to start answering them. Mr. Joe Rico, how are you, buddy? You're going to be live with me on Leading Off tomorrow. How does it feel replacing a bald-headed Joe with a very luscious set of hair with the new Joe Rico?
You know, I had a couple of friends ask me the other night, we were out for a friend's dinner, and they're like, when are you going to cut the hair? And I was like, you know what? With deGrom pitching the way he is, I'm keeping the vintage deGrom locks all season. But, you know, pretty soon I'm going to be like Joe because the hair's starting to thin out on top. So let's say leading off circa 2030, you're going to see some dual bald Joes potentially.
We definitely can have that. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, by the way. We got a big, massive injury, which I actually want to kick us off with before we get into anything. We've got some crazy performances, and Joe and I just did a video. If you guys want to check out MLB Futures over on Betting Pros, we did a video together with Seth Walcott. And it's funny because we had the Jacob deGrom conversation. Jacob deGrom goes out and throws just another great start. Pisapia today was giving you some credit for it, you know, because it's pretty crazy what he's doing. And you also have to like pseudo wonder, could he be one of the biggest trade chips out there if the Rangers just start to lose some of that momentum? It is still completely tied, though, if he were to stay in the AL to Tariq Skubal, you know, not work or getting hurt or something like that, because I still think he's like an MVP candidate. But Jacob deGrom, first time since 2019, has had 100 innings. He has not had 100 innings or more since 2019, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy. This is kind of what I was expecting, just based off of everything we talked about in the preseason. The surgery to repair the ligament, the long layoff, the fact that even though he's 37, he doesn't have as many innings under his belt as the average 37-year-old. There was a lot of reasons to really like him, but I got to admit, I didn't expect 9 wins at this point, especially considering the Rangers have been pretty terrible. The Rangers are 42-42, or 42-44, I should say, and yet deGrom is sitting here with 9 wins. I'm ecstatic. I could go on all day. I could go on all day about Jacob deGrom. He's been brilliant.
He's been pretty dang good. We're going to get to Thunderstud here in just a second. He is first up. He dropped a super chat. He gets the first question answered. But there's something in the chat that we have to hit. And ironically, in that show we did, the Betting Pro show, we were talking, you know, about MVP and lots of, you know, seasonal awards. But we also talked about buying and selling in there. And, you know, the effects of trade deadlines and win totals and stuff like that. And we were both asked, we kind of had the same teams of like, who do we think are sellers, Diamondbacks and Pirates and Marlins and stuff. And we were both asked a couple teams that might not be on that list. Well, I brought up a team in the Atlanta Braves and that they were like 7 or 8 games out of the wild card, that they've had injuries. Marcell Ozuna was out there. They can't pick up wins. Chris Sale, we just found out, was put on the 60-day IL. That was new. I know it's clerical, but it was news to me that I thought he could come back sooner. And there's some talk he could be out for the season. Well, it got worse when you didn't think it could get worse, because over the last hour sometime, Spencer Schwellenbach is on the IL with a fracture in his elbow. And it wasn't a fracture that was, I mean, better for worse. I don't know, you could pick, but it wasn't like, he was hit by a ball and it fractured. He had soreness in his arm. And then they checked it out and he has a small fracture in there. The good news is it's not a surgery-based thing. He's not going to throw for a month. And then there's a hope, there's an optimism that he's going to be ready for September. So if he doesn't throw for a month, that's into August. He'll have to ramp back up and that he could pitch in September and the playoffs. But it might be too gaunt. No Chris Sale, no Schwellenbach. I think the Braves are going to be sellers here, but we had a whole bunch of stuff in here on the Schwellenbach as far as like, do you think that Schwellenbach is a cut right now? I'm trying to see if I thought somebody had said that But I think a couple people were asking in it, do you think, oh yeah, right here, Jacob said, Schwelly, is he a drop in redraft right now for you based on this injury? And it's all speculative if he comes back.
It really comes down to IL spots. If you're playing in a league without IL spots, if you're a player on the NFBC, for example, I think you can probably cut him. As awful as it is, he's maybe going to come back in September for a team that, we've been talking about the Braves may turn it around. They're toast. Like this is a death blow for a team that couldn't afford it, especially with the sale news as well. I know they're getting Profar back for all the good that's going to do, but they're 11.5 back of the division. They're not going to be competitive.
Yeah, it's 11. It's not 7. I was underselling it. It's like 11 games back, right?
In the division, yeah. I'm not sure about the wild card. Wild card might be 7 or 8, but this is a team that is not going to be playing for anything in September. Are they going to really rush back Schwellenbach so that he can make 4 starts for a team that's going to win 78, 76 games this year? I think if you have free IL spaces, you put him there because why not? But I'm not expecting much the rest of the way. At least it's not a ligament tear or something. When you see elbow fracture, that's a lot of people are going to think, well, he's done for next year. It's not that bad, but he's probably done for this year.
Yeah. And Seth, our producer, said 7.5. I've got 7.5. I've got 7. Either way, they're 6th in the wild card race. They're behind the Cardinals, the Giants, the Reds, the Diamondbacks, and the Marlins. Sure, you could pass up the Marlins and Diamondbacks. Reds, Giants, probably going to be buyers. You also would have to jump in and beat the Brewers, the Padres, or the Mets. I think this is you pick up your losses, you trade a couple pieces, you don't sell out the team. Maybe you trade Grant Holmes, who just struck out a bunch. I mentioned that on leading off. Marcell Ozuna is someone maybe you get out from under, and you just get a couple pieces out. I think they're going to be sellers. I think it's a pretty bad situation having your top 2 pitchers out. There's not much else out there for them. And like Life with Fife said, they just said a return is possible in September. Like it's all unknown. So Schwelly questions are welcome. All your questions are welcome. Let's get into it with the Q&A. Keep dropping them for the next, I guess we're now like 50 minutes or so. Thunder, Schwelly down. 16-team dynasty. Rate these replacements. Edward Cabrera, Trevor Rogers, Eric Lowry. It's a great question. I expect, and we have some I see in the chat of people asking about potential replacements for Schwelly. At the end of the day, like, nothing's going to fully replace it, but those are actually not bad options. Edward Cabrera has been lights out. Trevor Rogers is a really interesting case. We just did a video about him. Me and Pia did 2 mile per hour increase, almost 2 miles per hour on his fastballs. He's getting a lot of like weak contact that's induced. A really weird. It's a small sample size, Joe, but Trevor Rogers has given up a sub 200 batting average to every pitch type that he throws. So there's not like, it's not like 300 against fastballs and everything else is really good. They've all been really good. And Eric Lowry has been fantastic. So these are really actually 3 great options in a 16-team league. Dynasty makes it a tiny bit different, but what do you think? Are you going to care about the full replacement or the long-term value if you're picking one of these guys?
Rogers is kind of interesting. I've been so down on him the last couple of years that I kind of need to like start my evaluation from scratch on him. But the strikeouts are still not really there, just at 20%. He's not walking many batters, but the stuff's still not grading out well. 52% hard hit rate against. I don't feel that great about Rogers in the long run. I think I would go with Edward Cabrera here. If you look at what he's done since the beginning of May, he has a 2.05 ERA, a 1.10 WHIP, 17% strikeout minus walk rate, and there's a pretty decent chance, I would say, that he is a trade chip at the deadline. So, he's pitching for the Marlins right now. Wins are not going to be easy to come by, but they'll probably be easier to come by in the last couple months of the season, assuming they do move him, and I think they will at this point. So I think Edward Cabrera is where I'd have to go for this one.
I'll go with Cabrera as well. I'm a little uncertain if he's 100% going to be a trade chip, just because I think both of these guys, like, I think there's an opportunity where the Marlins are like, hey, listen, the market's not out there for Sandy. We don't trade him. Maybe why do you need to move off of Edward Cabrera as well, unless you're going to get a haul? These are younger, controllable pitchers. Eury has kind of been bouncing back. Like, if you can go into next year, you lost Max Meyer. If your rotation next year is a healthy Sandy, Eury Perez, this version of Edward Cabrera, Max Meyer, you're in a great spot. So I don't think it's a shoe-in that he's just a sell, but he's like the best of the guys right now. I'd probably rank this Cabrera, Lauer, and Rogers And if he keeps holding like that, now from a dynasty perspective, Cabrera is also the top of the list. Maybe Rogers over Lawlar in the dynasty side, but I don't really think the dynasty needs to play in when you're just trying to find a replacement for Schwelly. So
yeah,
the Schwelly Schwells.
I think I'd probably go Rogers over Lawlar in dynasty, but in redraft it might go the other way.
All right, let's jump into the bevy of questions. Like I said, you want to get top of the line, you can absolutely do so with the super chats. Don't be afraid to do so. And also, here's a cool thing. This is something when you guys interact with the chat that you're just automatically setting yourself up for. Giveaways, because we've got a Juan Gonzalez signed Rangers jersey for you that you guys can win, courtesy of our friends at pristineauction.com. All you've got to do is subscribe to the Fantasy Pros MLB channel. That's it. And then make a comment. Drop a comment on any video. You're doing it here. You're entering yourself while you're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed. Put those comments in, and then we'll be announcing a winner here on the channel at the end of the month. So turn on notifications so you can know when the videos are up, the new videos, and if you are a potential winner. We announced it just the other day. We were announcing some of these winners right on the first. So get involved today. Subscribe, comment, and you can maybe win that awesome Juan Gonzalez jersey. All right, back to the questions. Brandon, for this week, if you had to choose just one, would you start Strider versus Baltimore or Mizorowski versus the Mets? It's pretty easy. Yeah, it's a pretty easy one. As good as Miz has been, it's going to be a tougher matchup against the Mets. Strider against Baltimore is like phenomenal. So easy one. TK said, I've got 4 Angels, Trout, Adele, Neto, and Ohapi. Is that bad? I don't like having so many from one team, but they aren't droppable, really. I don't really think that's too much of a thing.
It's not my favorite thing necessarily, but they're all well worth a roster spot, so I don't think it's the end of the world.
I kind of don't either. Like, if you were to, I don't know who you would be out on here. Like, Ohapi's like in the top 10, 12 catcher conversation. Neto is in the top 12 shortstop. Adele is not droppable, and Trout, you just got to roll with it. Like, be happy about what Adele's doing right now. Like Adele would be the easy drop, but he's ridiculous. He's gonna have 30 homers this year.
His breakout looks pretty legit, man. When you look at the strikeout rate going down, the barrel hard hit going up, I think he's pretty legit.
I think too legit to quit. I agree. Our boy Chris Dittmer is, hopefully I said your last name correctly, with the super chat, jumping to the front of the line. Edman hasn't been the same since the ankle injury. Hold because of LA's loaded lineup, or do you think we should move on? What are your thoughts on Tommy Edman?
I would understand it if we're talking about a shallower format, but being in that lineup, even though he has been kind of towards the bottom of it recently, hit 8th yesterday, it's turning over to Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. I still think there's a lot of runs in his future. I'd prefer to hold on if possible, unless there is a really great option sitting out there in the wire. Multi-eligible in that lineup, there's a lot of value, I think, still.
Yeah, I think it's a little dependent on what's out there. I don't think there's a blanket like you should just be done. I mean, if PSP were here, he'd be like, yeah, get rid of Edman, hates Edman. But like, it's not super exciting, but it's also nothing that's like, well, we should just literally go in any other direction. Pretty decent, like a home split. He's hitting 260. The homers are kind of flying when he's playing at home. He's got a bad split against lefties, which you don't like as a switch hitter. He's only hitting 250 against righties. You wonder if some of this stuff is going to just like, which direction is it going to end up going for Edman? He's always run a really low BABIP, by the way, too. 257 last year, 275 the year before. It is currently the lowest of his career, if that means anything to anybody. But I don't know. I think the profile with the lineup is solid. They do have some minor league guys. It could get a little crowded at some point, but I don't think I'm looking to drop Edman unless there's just something good that's floating out there. Someone that maybe people don't believe in. I mean, I can't imagine like Adele would be out there, but stuff like that, like a guy that people are like, nah, I don't really believe in it, but you could make that move.
I've written a few waiver wire pieces for Adele over the last few weeks, and it was like he went from 24% to 32 to 41. Like, people were still kind of hesitant to buy in, so you might be able to find him, especially if you're playing on Yahoo. People on Yahoo don't care about Joe Adele.
I got a great one for you. This is not the intended question here, but how about this? Gabe said, Ernie Clement or Otto Lopez, temporary replacement for Jacob Wilson while he's dealing with a hamstring strain. Ask that question, but then also, would you take either one of those guys over Edman right now?
I probably would, and I'd still think that it's going to even out for Edman in the end. These are two of the better pickups you could make on the wire right now. I'd probably go with Otto Lopez just because his production is a little more well-rounded. He's been giving you a good batting average recently, but he also has some pop. And as much as I love Ernie Clement, there is really not a ton of pop in the bat. We're looking at like a 2-3% barrel rate most of the time. You know, he's going to give you a good batting average, but that's about it with some runs. Otto Lopez can give you 3.5, 4 categories. So I think it's probably Lopez.
And so you're going to go Lopez over him, and you're going Lopez over Edman, or are you going to stick with Edman?
No, I think it's Edman over both. I think I'd still take Edman over both.
I think I agree. If you didn't say it, but if you were like a points league, I would probably go Clement over Lopez just because of like the really good plate skills with Clement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Lopez is still somebody that I think can hit for a good average, like 270 last year. He's at 257, but recently he's been hitting for a really good average, doesn't strike out a lot. Clement has the better lineup, and the Blue Jays had him leading off the last couple of games too. So I think it's really close between them, honestly. But I don't think either of them should be on waiver wires in most leagues at all.
By the way, Chris said, I have Otto, Clement, and Adele not available. So Edman can hang on my bench, it sounds like, until he rocks it again or an injury. Yeah, there you go. Another super chat in the house. William Aker, 10-team points leaguer. I have a potential trade, Jazz and Cease for Gilbert. Second potential is Jazz and Mizorowski for Gilbert and somebody else. Okay, so then that clarifies. You would be trading Jazz and said player to get Gilbert. So you're trying to get Gilbert in both. Would any of these work for you? Jazz and Cease. This is a points league, so Jazz's value is a lot less, you know, especially with like the strikeouts and everything right now. Cease has been pretty wonky right now. Would either one of those work for you? Dylan Cease, Jazz, or Jazz and Miz for Gilbert and then somebody else?
Gilbert worries me a little bit, just considering the flexor strain earlier in the year. I don't know if he's 100% out of the woods there. Jazz and Cease, I think, is probably the preferable pairing in that first deal. I think I take the duo, and then Jazz and Mizorowski for Gilbert.
Wait. So you're saying you want Jazz and Cease because he's trading away Jazz in the piece, or are you saying you want to trade Jazz and Cease for Gilbert?
No, I'm keeping Jazz and Cease.
Okay, so you want Jazz and Cease over Gilbert, and then now the other one.
The second, Jazz and I guess it depends on who the someone else is with Gilbert. Jazz and Mizorowski in a points league, like you mentioned, Jazz has his shortcomings. Mizorowski walks a lot of guys, and he's got the Mets, and then I think the Dodgers coming up next. So that one's a little bit tricky. It would really depend on who the someone else is. If you can give us another little comment there, William, you don't have to pay again, but if you just say like who's the someone else potentially, I think that would clear it up a little bit for me.
Well, he also said he doesn't trust Jazz or Cease. Like I've been in the camp that it feels like that Cease is gonna kind of break out, like he's gonna get out of this. He's talked about getting out of this. He's very confident, but it has been a long time. There's something about trading like Miz and Jazz that feels a little bit sick. Because what I'm getting at here is if you were to be like, you know, hey, I'd like the Cease trade, I don't like the Miz trade. It's like, so are you valuing Mizorowski over Cease at this point? I think if your gut is telling you, I don't. Also, let me say this: I don't think you should not get a piece if you're trading Cease instead of Miz. You know what I'm saying? Like that trade is like, well, you got to get something back if you trade Miz, but not Cease. That's almost saying that there's more value on the Miz side. The other piece is important. If you push for the Cease side, see if you can get something as well. I think you're in the range of this being doable. Logan Gilbert goes deep into games. It's going to have to be trusted the entire way through. Like, I'm not against this one. I'm not against it really on either side. It's a small lean to me trading a rookie and Miz that I might rather do. So just throwing that out there.
The thing with Cease is that I think that he is a great buy low still. I know that it's been a rough year, but
yeah, same.
The numbers below the surface are really good. 4.53 ERA stands out, but he's a 3.51 expected ERA. He's a 3.23 FIP. I like Sierra better than all the other ERA estimators, and his 3.34 is the best of his career. The stuff is still great, grading out 108 overall. Like Dylan Cease, I'm telling you guys right now, I'm buying back in next year 100% when the price is lower. 100%.
Yeah, maybe a dynasty play. I forgot to mention this a couple minutes ago, but little tiny breaking news. The Josh Berger has been activated from the IL, and the Rangers' move was to send Josh Young down to AAA. So Josh Young optioned for Jake Berger as his return. So I kind of didn't have that in the cards, but also Josh Young had started to struggle again. He came out really hot off of his injury, and then now he's sent down.
That is kind of shocking. Like, I don't know why they wouldn't just play him. Like, you got a guy who is still young. He's still 27. There's been some ups and downs, but what do you gain from having him in the minor leagues in a year that's pretty much a lost season for the Rangers? You gonna play Billy McKinney a DH every day? Like, come on.
Maybe it's a trade. Maybe you're going to move on from Josh Young. He's had nothing but injuries. Josh Smith has really stepped up. You've got obviously Jake Berger. I mean, you've got pieces. You've got some stuff. Maybe we want him to get playing time in the minors. He wasn't going to see anything here, and then maybe they move on from him. I don't know. Rangers want to make a move. Maybe that's like a tiny splash that they could look into. Fantasy sports. How would you rank these outfielders? Ward, Profar, Stowers, head-to-head points league. Profar would be at the top for me, followed by Stowers maybe Stowers and Ward.
So I am completely out on Profar. I have zero interest, zero. Like, I know he's been good. Cheated? Yeah, he was pretty garbage for his entire career. He has a PED season where he's brilliant. What are we expecting? Are we expecting what percentage of last season do you think he's going to be this year? I don't even think he'll be half of what he was without the juice. I don't know. And it seems like that was a huge cause for his surge. And I know he had a pretty good rehab assignment, but it's a bad lineup. The Braves we just talked about earlier, they are going to be in full sell mode. It's not a team that's been excelling anyway. What are we getting at a Profar? I don't really expect much. He's 32, 33 years old, coming off of PEDs and a mediocre decade before that. My expectations are really low for him.
Yeah, I guess like PEDs aren't, it's not like gasoline. It doesn't like your car doesn't work and then you put the gasoline in and then it works. That's not like how it works. Like you bulk up, your muscles, they repair better, so you can train more, you can get bigger. Like, I don't think PEDs made his barrel percentage go from 4% to 7.2%. You know what I'm saying? Like, the hard hit rate was the sky high 44%, but he also barreled. So that's like a little bit of my argument. What the PEDs already got him physically to a point. Now, maybe if like there's, a year past, things have gone back down. I guess I get the arguments. I get not being into it, but it's just not like an off and on switch, any type of performance enhancing drug. And if you want to say that like he's been kind of his entire career, it's totally acceptable. But he is coming off of a pretty phenomenal year where he hit the ball harder. He struck out left. It's like the old Bonds thing. You're not going to see the ball and walk better because of performance enhancing drugs. So I think there's just so much in the profile of the game that's not just centered around hard hit that I think he's the best player involved. And they got rid of Verdugo. He's going to be the full-time guy. That's just my take on it. So then if Profar is your bottom one, who do you want? Ward or Profar? Or Ward or Stowers?
I might go with Stowers. He's been pretty consistent this year. I know the lineup's not great, but he's hitting for power. He's hitting for average. I think I would stick with Stowers and then Ward. Like, when I look at Profar's exit velocities and then, going back to the Bonds thing with the walks, like, Bonds always walked. It wasn't about like increasing his walk rate. Bonds never had a 50 home run season, and then he hit 73 when he was like 38 years old. Profar, max EVs were always in like the 108, 107 range. He goes up to 110. Average was 86. He jumped up 5 miles an hour on average. Like, I feel like that is tied in some way. He was the worst player in Major League Baseball among qualified hitters in 2023. And then his WRC plus jumped more than 60 points. It's just hard for me to look at that and think it's not due to the PEDs.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I think like in the future years on, it makes more sense. But I didn't hear. Did you answer Ward or Stowers?
Stowers.
Did I miss it? Oh, you said Stowers. Okay, cool.
I'd go Stowers. Right.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. I get why people might not be interested in it, but like, he's coming off a great year. Regardless of that, there's a pretty damn good team context around him. You're going to be hitting high in the lineup. Ronald Acuna is pretty good. Austin Riley, everybody for some reason thinks is not good right now. Like, I think I'm not saying they're amazing or anything like that. Ozzie Albies is kind of stunk, and Michael Harris. But if you do put Profar in a spot where he's hitting around those guys, like, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Like, Stowers is fine. Ward is like, I'll take my chance with Jurickson, Profar. You go Stowers. It's a pretty good list to pick from fantasy sports, but a very good conversation as well. Yeah. CD, do I pick up Gallen after dropping him last night? Or dropping him in general. I am almost refusing to be like Joe was like, are you ready to take the L? It's like, no, like, I'm not, because it's been a season of garbage with Zac Gallen. I still see things in even just the savant breakdown of his pitch type that don't make me feel good. He had a 15% zone rate on his curveball, and he had a 50% whiff rate. The Giants were so winging through that, and a lot of teams have not swung through those curveballs. I don't still feel good, but he's got a great track record. You want to pick him, go pick him back up. Sure, let's see what the next start looks like. He's going to get traded. Maybe if he figures some stuff out and he goes to a better team, it's all possible. But what I do know is he has struggled with fastball command all season long. His fastball has also stunk, and that has affected the other pitches. It did not in this start. I'm not ready to claim that he is back, but he's got a great track record. If you want to pick him up, I don't think there's any harm with it. What say you?
Yeah, this could be a scenario where broken clock is right a couple times a day, and Gallen just happened to be right yesterday. I still think that there is a lot to worry about. His stuff has gone down every year going back to 2022. The strikeout rate is 21%. No bueno. The walks are high. The whip is bad. ERA and the it's all bad. It's pretty much all bad. When I look at the schedule for the next couple of weeks, it does give me a little bit of hope just because he's facing Kansas City on Sunday. Not a good offense. He's facing the Angels on his following start on the next Friday, which will be July 11th. Not a great offense. So if you're really desperate for pitching, if you've lost Schwellenbach and you've got like a hospital ward on your staff, I don't mind it. But I also have pretty low expectations. You're kind of just hoping for a miracle here, but the data's pretty bad.
Someone needs to have like the Schwellenbachs and the Chris Sales and stuff on their team, and then have Kobe Mayo and just be like, the Mayo Clinic. That's what I need. I need someone to make that be the name. But yeah, I think we're laying it out. Like, we know the track record of a guy like Zach. It's the same thing as Sandy Alcantara, almost identical. It's like, we know, except the difference with Sandy is like Sandy still has like a 99-mile-an-hour fastball, but his changeup is just, it's not the same. But we know he's talented. When you get those really talented players, you just don't want to move away from them, and you want to have like quick trigger fingers. It's just, this was one start. I don't know how it's gonna pair over the majority of the season. But you know what? After this start, the Diamondbacks should be just ecstatic, taking calls hopefully from the Chicago Cubs, from the New York Mets, from a gajillion others. They should definitely be doing that. Rafael, Clement or Durbin to replace Jeremy Pena? Clement.
I'm going Clement. Yeah,
we're both going to go Clement on that one. My friends, you guys can check out my playbook for all of these difficult and tough lineup decisions, because my playbook will help you manage your fantasy baseball lineups and dominate your leagues with Fantasy Pros. My playbook is a suite of powerful tools to help you make better decisions, manage your lineups, win leagues, sync them all together. You can import to get custom fantasy baseball news, rankings, and analysis. So sync those leagues at fantasypros.com/MLB, my playbook, or you can just download the Fantasy Baseball My Playbook app today. Make your fantasy baseball season easier, smarter, not harder. You know what the saying is. All right, let's get back to some more questions here. James, time to give up on Logan Henderson. 12-team points league, needs some starting pitcher depth. Yeah, I think so. Like, we if he's out there, we want to own him, but we really don't have a timetable. Mizorowski holds this. Woodruff is back. I think you can move on, especially if you're needing depth. I wouldn't hold tight on Logan Henderson. Do you feel different?
If you have a minor league spot and you can stash them, I don't mind it. But if you're killing an active roster spot, like, they have a really solid rotation right now. Chad Patrick's been really good. Quinn Priester's been good with Woodruff coming back. There's just no room for him, unfortunately.
I never thought that Quinn Priester and Chad Patrick would be this good this long. So it's a total wrong on my part. I'm shocked by it, because that was why it was like, hey, Mizorowski and Henderson could both have really good value this season, but those guys have been too good. And they've also bought themselves leash. So if they're bad in a start, they're not going to immediately just, kick them to the side. Like, they have got some runway. So that's why I would just move on.
Patrick
Robert
has the worst ERA in the rotation, and it's 3.51. That's the worst ERA in the rotation.
That's totally crazy. Yeah, Perez, Freddie has been amazing. Peralta, 12-team head-to-head keeper league, 6 players max. Would you drop Lawlar to pick up Sebastian Walcott, and would he be worth keeping as one of the 6 percentage he makes? Chance he makes the majors in 2026. 6 keepers, I think, is really tough to keep a guy like that. Yeah. Walcott has, I would put, let's say to make the majors in 2026, I'll bet you there's a 75% chance he plays in the majors. To make the opening day roster, I'd say 5% chance. I think you see him at some point. This time, 1 year from today, I don't think you see Sebastian Walcott. So he is a top 5 prospect, which makes it really great. I would value him over Lawlar, but I don't think Lawlar and Walcott in a 16 keeper are probably keepers.
No, I doubt it. I know that there are certain people who are like super high on Walcott. Like
Unless your team sucks. Yeah, James has him as 1 overall.
James has him 1 overall, and in his dynasty rankings, he's like top 25. Like, and James is a really smart guy. Where do you have him in terms of dynasty overall? Like, would he be that high for you, like a top 50 guy, or
okay?
so
I'll take a look. Well, in my because I have the prospect rankings. You guys can always check updates, by the way. A cheap plug for my Patreon, inthisleague.com. Will take you there. I've got my top 500 prospects that are always there. Walcott is number 5 on my prospect list. Then we move over to my dynasty list. And let me do a little search here real quick. I have him at 65. So, I do have him pretty close. I guess it's dependent on what the rest of your team looks like. He's probably, I would say he's like the 3rd youngest on my top 75 dynasty. He's the 3rd youngest. He's middle of the pack. Well, it's actually the highest of the other 2, which is Connor Griffin and Jesus Made of coming up. But here's what you got to remember. This is a guy that has been aggressively moved. He's had some average issues so far this year. And they got Corey Seager. So the move is going to be he plays out the rest of the season, finds some success, goes to AAA. Great sign for next year. But then are they going to have to talk about positional moving? It is a possibility. I would say this time, when I said I don't think he's here next year, 50-50 chance that he's up by now. But I think he's more of a later season guy based on a team that is built to win now. So, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe now that I'm looking at even my own list, maybe we are a little bit closer, tiny bit closer to him being a top 6 keeper. Did he say... I even looked. Did he say how many? He didn't. I don't even think he said.
I think he said it was 6 keepers, 12-team league.
Oh, it was 12-team. Okay, so I mean that's pretty close. So if you have really crappy keepers, I guess you could. So, bam. What was this, Welsh? Drop the link to your Patreon, please. Oh, look at you guys. Drop the link. It is we'll go. There you go. Right here. If you guys want to check it out, you can support your boy. Check out the Prospect and Dynasty. Always as well have lots of stuff that I'm putting out here. Just did an article coming out, by the way, if you guys are into prospects to stash, coming out probably in a day or two on Fantasy Pros, and I'll be breaking down some first-year players to pay attention to after the All-Star break. But I will also be adding them to my prospect ranks sheet for Dynasty as well. All right, cheap plugs out of the way. Get that nonsense out of here. Let's go back to some more questions. Skywalker, drop Jacob Lopez for Sheehan. Do you see Sheehan coming up this Sunday? I think they've talked about Sheehan pitching on Sunday, but would you make that move?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Have they officially announced it? Because I know there was some speculation. Let me just see. He's expected to start Sunday. Yeah, you know what? I think that's a fine move. It's Houston, so it's not a cupcake matchup, but I think Sheehan is the guy I'd rather have rest of the season than Lopez. What happened here? What happened to the mic?
Whoops. Sorry, I was muted, wasn't I?
Yeah, I thought my mic went out for a second.
No, that was me. That was my bad. I'm saying I could see your face. You just put your mic out there. Apologies for everybody. I was muting because there was chaos going here. What a name. Harry Brooks. Love it. How do you rank these starting pitchers? Lodolo, Will Warren, Eury Perez, and Chase Burns, dude.
Jesus. Probably Lodolo. Lodolo's been performing pretty well this year. He's got a track record, maybe not the track record isn't the right word, but he's had a couple of years of pitching with some flashes of success. I think it's probably Lodolo, Warren. I think it might be the order you've laid it out there, honestly.
I would by the way, your mic is still like not correct. So you might want to fix your mic. Or it doesn't sound right. I would go. I'm going to go Lodolo. People are going to hate this. I think I'm going to go Chase Burns, Eury, and then Will Warren. So there's a question. Let me see if I can find it just to like get it off the queue so I don't go to it a little bit later. But somebody did ask I don't know if I'll find it. Seth, if you see it, you can bring it up. But somebody asked, oh yeah, here we go. Mike said, should I be worried about Burns after the dumpster fire against the Sox? Does he get sent back down with that rough outing against Philly, or does he stick around against a bad Philly matchup, or does he stick around rest of season? So it's pretty well known right now, for the most part, that he was like tipping. Like there's screenshots across the board that he was pulling his glove inward when he was throwing, I think it was a slider. and I could be inversing this, doesn't really matter. And then his glove was just open on fastballs. So he's primarily, those are his two big primary pitches, that there was a lot of that. And there was like, some of the dudes, Jarren Duran was like talking with players. I think they all caught that really quick, and maybe they'd caught that in a previous start. I think it's something that's going to be fixed. This is a tough matchup against Philly. I'd be a little bit worried about it, but I think Chase Burns showed the stuff. If you look at Jacob Misiorowski and you are in awe, you should also kind of be in awe a little bit of Chase Burns. I think the Reds are going to depend on him unless he is a full implosion. I think it's a really tough matchup. I think he's going to bounce back in his next one. So I think you kind of hold. So that's why I put him in a high regard in that other question of ranking. What do you think?
I think he's probably going to be fine. Like, I think this is something that they can.
You don't sound like it.
It's not encouraging, like what we've seen to the first couple. Like, that was not something that you're going to look at and be like, oh, okay, it's fine. But the pitch tipping, I think, is a huge part of it. It's just a matter of, will they be able to correct it immediately? Yeah, he struck out the first few batters he faced, and then it all unraveled for him immediately after. Like, we have to look at bigger sample sizes than just like what Rob Friedman tweets out, like nasty slider here, and then people lose their minds. Like, he's going to be great. Is it going to happen immediately? It might not. He's pitching in a really tough ballpark. If he fixes the tipping issues, then I think he's going to be fine. It's just a matter of how quickly they can correct that. Is that something they can correct in 5 days? Maybe, but for a guy his age, maybe not. I think he sticks around in the rotation, but for people who think he's like a top 30 starting pitcher rest of season, I think that's overshooting it a little bit. And I've seen him ranked as high as, 28, 29 on some people's list. It feels a little aggressive.
Okay, but like, where do you think Misiorowski is right now? Is he a top 30 pitcher?
I have Misiorowski. I can pull it up here. Jacob Misiorowski for me is 39. Put him at 39.
Okay, so I mean, you're like a little bit lower. You're a little bit lower on it then. So
I saw Nick had him like top 15 though, and it's like, as much as I love Nick, like I think people are just overshooting how good he is. Like, I think how good he's going to be immediately with the walk rate, with the natural bumps and bruises of becoming a major league pitcher. Like, with both of these guys, with every rookie prospect that comes up, people pretty much immediately overvalue them. So Burns, Misiorowski, Kurtz, Caglione, whoever it is, they're going to be good, but they're going to go through bumps and bruises. So I don't know. I like them both, but people overrate them, I think.
And that may be the case. I've got some high hopes, but I guess my point with the Misiorowski thing was like, if Chase Burns had 3 starts where everything was okay, I think you might have some anointment based on some of his stuff. I mean, some big stuff numbers. Here's the big thing. Hold. Maybe don't start him against Philly. Let's see what happens. If it's 3 of 4 starts, he's going to get 2 more starts. If the next 2 starts are big blow-ups and the tipping is not fixed, or the tipping is fixed and it is more throwing than it is finesse pitching, then okay, you can maybe move on. But I think the stuff is so big. The Reds are going to be in contention. There's a lot of win support. They're going for, a playoff run. Like I think sometimes we got to make bets, especially when it's compared. I loosely don't want to call like Will Warren average. I don't want to call, some of the Eury Perez is a little weird right now. Like, he doesn't look completely back. I want to call them average, but when you're playing like upside, you could argue Eury Perez is the highest upside, but I also think Chase Burns is right there. So that's why I'm give a little benefit of the doubt, a little tiny baby bit. All right. J-Pack, when Langford comes back this weekend, who should I drop? Lawrence Butler, Soderstrom, or Xavier Edwards?
Man, I think it might be Soderstrom. He has done nothing for most of the year. Like, he was fantastic. He was brilliant in April. Since then, 95 WRC plus in May. It was 82 in June. I don't think you need to hug on him in a shallower league. Yeah,
I'm looking at Edwards. 283, still no homers, 14 stolen bases. Just seeing if anything has picked up. 250 this month. Wow, that was like 323 matters more for June. It's kind of empty. I guess like I would be a little bit more apt to keep Soderstrom if I care more about power numbers. If I'm hugging average and stolen bases a little bit more and don't worry about the emptiness of the other stats, then that would be like why I would pick Edwards. So I think it's one of those two. It's not Butler. Philip, fantasy killer A's. I have them all. Should I sell Butler, Shea, Wilson, or Kurtz for a pitcher? He's got Tatis and Carroll. So which A, I guess, would you target to sell to get equated pitcher?
I mean, it really depends on what the potential offers could be. I think Nick Kurtz could probably fetch a haul right now, but you could probably say the same thing for Jacob Wilson. It really depends on specific offers. I mean, I'd maybe kick the tires just to see what people will be willing to give up for Kurtz, just because he's been so hot. You might be able to get the best immediate return for him. But I also feel really good about riding out the rest of the year with Kurtz. I think he can be a 20-plus home run guy pretty easily. So it would really depend on the specific offers.
I think Nick Kurtz is probably, yeah, I think the offers are dependent. I don't think Butler's trade value rocks right now. Jacob's a little bit banged up. Nick Kurtz has just been on a really big, I think like you can get a solid value back of a pitcher for a rookie. That's, you know, there can still be some ups and downs. The ballpark is so nice though. Kurtz would probably be the one I'm targeting, hoping you have a replacement for Kurtz. If not, maybe it's Butler. Maybe if you can find someone that would be like, you know, similar Butler value, maybe that like this right here. Jason just said, who do you like, Butler or Cease? If you could get Cease for Butler, I'd do that. I'd buy low on, I would sell two pieces that aren't working. If you needed some starting pitcher help, I would do that.
I think it's fine. Yeah. Okay. Butler has been disappointing, but he's also still probably going to have a 25 season. So he hasn't been bad, but I think the Butler and Cease one would really come down to roster construction. I think it's fair for both sides.
You guys watching us live on the YouTube, it's always great doing the lives on the YouTube every single day, depending what time zone you're in. It's usually probably like 2 p.m. Eastern or so. You guys get leading off. Well, you guys will be watching us live every single day at 12 p.m. Eastern, every single day except July 4th coming up on Friday. You guys can actually watch us live on Twitch, twitch.tv/FantasyPros, 2 p.m. Eastern, your daily dose of fantasy baseball news, insights, and strategy. You can ask questions, get insight, interact live. Follow us now at twitch.tv/FantasyPros. Never miss a stream. Bigger lineup of exclusive, interactive, live content for Fantasy Pros. It's here. And tomorrow, Joe Rico is with me. So watch Joe and I back together again on Leading Off at 12 p.m. Eastern on the Twitch. All right. Little lightning round-ish. We've got like 10 to 15 minutes left. I want to get to a bunch of questions. You guys have been doing a great job. Thank you guys all for hanging out with us as well. The number, I always love these streams where the numbers kind of keep progressively going up and they don't go down. So hat tip to all you guys. So let's play a little bit more lightning round quicker on our responses. That's to me, by the way. Shut the hell up, Welsh. The big dance. How comfortable do you guys feel starting Mizrowski tonight versus the Mets?
So what I said yesterday when somebody asked was 12 teams and deeper, I'd probably do it. If it's a 10-team, really shallow league, I might not take the chance, though.
I'm like a 6 out of 10 on it. He's been so good. These guys haven't seen him. You want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but this is a tough matchup. So if I'm hugging ratios, I don't know. Maybe I don't. Alejandro Kirk or Langoliers and Cats?
Alejandro.
I'll go Alejandro as well. I just cut the Langoliers in a league. I had to. Sheehan, I think we already maybe had that. Sheehan's a good replacement for Schwellenbach.
Yeah.
Sound right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Logan, head-to-head. Christian Walker or Spencer Steer rest of season. That's good.
I'd take Steer. Walker has been brutal. Steer's been like hot as hell recently. It's like the last couple weeks, it's like 3 or 4 homers, 3 or 4 steals, better ballpark. I'll take him. JPAC back in here, getting a couple questions. What's up, guys? Great to see Joe O. And of course, prospect guru, the Welsh. Need help at middle infield. I've got Xavier Edwards, who's not running. McLean's pretty average. Also have Otto Lopez out producing. Pick one to drop. Edwards, Lopez, or McLean? Probably Edwards, but I'm so down on McLean, man. I think that first rookie run we saw from him was so fictional at this point. I don't know if we're ever getting that again.
Yeah, I mean, he has had a bit of a bounce back. I mean, thank God his average is over 200, but they kind of leveled out. He had a really good June. So something to sit on. He had 2 months of hitting under 200 between April and May, but he just hit 287 in June. 3 homers. No stolen bases. Strikeout rate was lower than 25%, which you really like to see. I kind of maybe want to bank on that because of the competitiveness of the team. Edwards isn't really running. I think a lot is empty. I'm going to go with the upside. And I think Otto Lopez, surprisingly, I think people might have thought Otto Lopez is the easy pick, but
he's been great.
I'll go there. All right. Do we move on from David Peterson? I think you probably can.
Did something happen that I missed?
No, I think it was just that last bad outing that he had.
I mean,
he's at 3.3 ERA. Yeah.
2 bad starts in a row, but I wouldn't cut him unless there's something really good out there. He hasn't got the strikeout upside that I hoped he would a couple of years ago, but he's been pretty dependable this year. I wouldn't just cut him for no reason. It would have to be a good arm sitting out there to replace him.
10-team league, you can. He's got 9 walks over his last 3 starts. He's given up 13 earned runs as well. And he has failed to go in the 5th in his last 2 starts. I don't know. Like deeper leagues, like you said, you're probably not. But I don't think I'm afraid to. I don't think I'm afraid to drop him if there's something decent out on the wire. You know what I mean?
Those last 2 starts were the first 2 times this year he's allowed more than 3 earned runs. It's been a really good year. I guess in the 10-team league you can, but I wouldn't be rushed. I wouldn't do it for no reason. Like it would have to be for like, would you pick up Sheehan to drop him?
I guess I'd be okay with it in a small. I think smaller leagues, these are really easy decisions. Like oh, he's been struggling the last couple. Move on. 12-team, it's a lot tougher. You got Glass now coming back. Maybe I wouldn't for Sheehan. You know what? I would not for Sheehan because you got Glass now coming back. You got Blake Snell throwing today. Like if these guys all get back, if Blake Snell ever comes back, it's going to be hard for Sheehan to like continue to maintain a spot. So
yeah,
I guess they would David Peterson in that instance. In order, who would you roster? This is from Jacob: Bieber, Minaya, Grayson Rodriguez, and Arrighetti. Probably Grayson Rodriguez coming in here because I think he threw a little bit today. Finally heard something, doing something. Yeah. So what would your order be? You got just a bunch of injured dudes.
I mean, I really don't have much interest in any of them. I didn't see the Grayson report, but that is promising. Yeah, he completed a bullpen session last night. I guess it's Grayson. Arrighetti, I think, is relatively close. Bieber and Minaya, I'm not expecting really anything from, but I guess it'd be Bieber and then Minaya. It's a rough group.
Who is your number one? Arrighetti?
No, I think it's probably Grayson. Just based on
Grayson's the farthest away.
Did he not? Well, he just threw a bullpen session.
Yeah, but he hasn't even started a rehab assignment. He has a whole I mean, I guess Bieber's kind of in the same way. Just Bieber like was rehabbing and then had a backtrack. Grayson Rodriguez's upside is the most of any, but my only problem is like this team stinks. They're going to be selling off. Like what's going to be left? So yeah. I think I lean. Where's Minaya at? Because he had that setback. I'm going to go
like the loose bodies in his elbow or something like that.
I'm going to go Bieber, Rodriguez, Minaya, Arrighetti. Final answer.
Okay.
Would you drop Alcantara for Woodruff? From Jerry. What's up, Jerry?
Shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic. I guess I would. It's 6 of one, half dozen another, pretty much.
It's funny. I heard that exact statement today. Some GM was referring to the Steelers and Dolphins trades they were making where they traded Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith for Minka Fitzpatrick. And they said that the GM said it's like just shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic for both of those. So it's just funny you said that. I would lean, you know what? I hate this question.
Me too.
I'm going to go Alcantara and I don't know.
Yeah.
The bad start there, but he had picked up some good ones. He's 100% getting traded. I think he is, but I hate that one. O'Hearn, Sheets, or Cam Smith, 10-team roto.
Cam Smith,
maybe O'Hearn. Dude, if O'Hearn gets traded though to like he's hitting 4 for anybody with some run support, don't sleep on O'Hearn.
Yeah.
KV Pro. Do we think Reese Olson is going to come back solid rest of season? Sub-3 ERA, just activated. I mean, they're not going to let him be super bad for long as best team in baseball. So I'm kind of on Reese Olson's side. Do you have any take on it?
I mean, I wrote this over the weekend. Since the start of 2024, Olson has a 3.35 ERA, 3.10 FIP, 1.18 WHIP. He's coming back to face Cleveland. I don't know exactly how much I would trust him going forward, but he's absolutely worth picking up and starting for that one. Cleveland's offense in June was the absolute worst in baseball, actually. I thought it was second worst. It was the worst offense in the whole league in June. I'm starting him, and I think you kind of play it by ear from then, but he's been really good for a while now.
I forgot about this. Minaya is pitching. They are scheduling him to pitch next week. After the loose body stuff. Isn't that right? I think I did see that. Now,
yeah, they've got him down. He's got Sunday. It looks like he's scheduled to face the Yankees, but I have not a lot of interest there. Pretty much none.
Yeah, well, so it looks like I'm reading right here. This is from 40 minutes ago. Minaya was not an option for the Mets to start against the Yankees on Sunday. He's looking at Tuesday for his next rehab start. So just to make that clarified, that's from SNY 40 minutes ago.
Okay.
This is them talking, like the manager talking exactly about that.
Okay.
He started yesterday, I guess, at AA Binghamton, and they said it's his potential final rehab start, but the word out there looks like he might have one more. Yeah, it's saying Manaea will make a rehab start they say tonight, and likely another on Tuesday. So he is a late next week guy. Just throwing that out there.
That would put him against Kansas City, which is,
and that would maybe put him as the best option. So maybe he does go to the top of the list. Yeah. It's just, I like those other guys' talent higher, but I still think Grayson Rodriguez is just so far away. So, all right, not lightning round. Fred Dinger, what's up, fellas? Any thoughts on second half closers in waiting? I'll just give you one. Just it's top of my mind is just Grant Taylor. He's not waiting. He's got it. White Sox stink, but he looks phenomenal, and he's gotten the last couple saves. So that's one that jumps out to me. I don't know who the Diamondbacks would do once they start trading off their pieces. Ginkel might be thrown back into it. Yuck. Anybody else that jumps out to you? Maybe a team makes a move and he gets a closing gig?
This isn't necessarily about a trade, but Randy Rodriguez could potentially get a chance in San Francisco if Camilo Doval struggles. We've seen some overall, it's been a good year from him. But recently there have been a couple of shaky outings from Doval against Miami, against Boston. There was 3 earned runs, 2 earned runs. So I think Randy Rodriguez, even if he's not necessarily giving you a ton of saves, what he's done this season is really good. 0.74 ERA, 0.74 whip, tons of strikeouts. So I think he's a decent speculative option right now.
Taylor, what is Cal Raleigh's trade value? Would trading a first rounder like Fernando Tatis be too much? I also traded PCA for Juan Soto. This is head-to-head points league. So would you trade Fernando Tatis to get Cal Raleigh?
No. Wouldn't even entertain it. I love Cal Raleigh, but I don't think he's a first round player. I've had this conversation a few times recently. I think he'll be like a second rounder next year, but Tatis is on another level for me still. I know it's been up and down for him, but I have to go Tatis.
Yeah, I'm looking at names like, would I trade Trey Turner for him? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I might if I just don't value catcher to that necessarily that level. God, I'm looking at my dynasty list, so it's a little jacked up. Would you trade Manny Machado for him? You'd do that.
Maybe. Third base.
Austin Riley?
Yeah. Are we talking dynasty? We're not talking
No,
redraft?
we're just talking like redraft right now.
Redraft, then I would trade Riley. I would probably even trade Machado.
How about Bryce Harper?
Probably not.
I think I might. But maybe. I'm also the one that's sitting here like I just feel like Cal Raleigh's going to come back down to earth a little bit. You know that from all our talk yesterday that we did.
Yeah.
Ryo, I need a starting pitcher in a 13-team category league. Well, it's weird. What haul could I get for underperforming Jarren Duran? Probably not a haul.
A haul is probably not the way to put it. Yeah.
That might not be that craze.
This is the thing with a guy like Jarren Duran. If you're trading him now, you're trading him at a point when his value is, it's not nothing, but it's pretty low. He's the number 29 ranked outfielder this season, sandwiched between Soderstrom and Brandon Nimmo. If you're going to trade him right now, like if you're looking at auction values, he's been a $13 player this year. I don't know if you're going to like the guys who are generally in that kind of range. It's Kyle Stowers. It's Zach Neto. Lawrence Butler's in there. Paredes. There's some decent names, but I think you've got to just hold on to Duran. You might even see a trade where he goes to the Padres, like that's been talked about a lot this year. And maybe that boosts up his value if he's hitting ahead of Tatis, Merrill, Machado, etc. So I prefer to hold him. If you're going to trade him, I would need to get back somebody that's at least like a top 50 player overall still, I think. And you're probably not going to get that.
All right, super duper lightning round. We're going to just plow through some of these. Boom. Rank these. Langoliers, Agustin, Herrera.
The Herrera injury is brutal. I think it's Agustin, Langoliers, Herrera.
Yep. If Herrera was here, though, he would be number one in my eyes and my heart. Start Joe Adell, or that just messed me up, or Ozuna. I would start Joe Adell.
Right now, it's definitely Adell. Yeah.
Okay, you're with me. Ozuna and Chase Burns or Bellinger in redraft 12-team head-to-head categories league.
I mean, it might be Bellinger. It might be Bellinger.
I might take the duo. It's the Ozuna part that's getting me here. Chris said, Mr. Rico, need advice from a Jays guy. I'm still rolling Barger out every day. Should I be?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's been very productive. I know that he hasn't quite been as productive excuse me, as he was during that first, week when he was hitting home runs every single day, but he's still been very good. Like, let me just see where he is over the last 2 weeks. He's top 150 player the last week, top 200 over the last month. If there is a great third baseman sitting on your wire, then I don't mind making the switch, but there's probably not. Like I said it on the Discord show on Monday that I have him ranked as my 10th third baseman. Bregman will push him back to 11 when he comes back, but I'm still pretty interested in Barger.
Robert, yeah, and I'm good with Barger as well. I want to keep rolling. Worth trading for Ragans or King? I know Green should be back much sooner. Trying for him. If you would trade for one, which one would you be willing to trade for? I'm super worried about Michael King in the nerve stuff and no knowledge. I kind of think I'm probably avoiding if it's even 85 cents or higher on the dollar.
Yeah, Ragans too. I don't know if we're going to see much out of Ragans this year. I mean, Green would be the option there, but trading for injured guys, it's become a fool's errand, I think,
There's still a game in it. There's still some interest, but like if you would have traded for Chris Sale, then that blew up in your face. So yeah, to your point, like it's a tough thing. Van Rod, this is a tough one in lightning round. What kind of return would you expect for Abbott? Do you have a relative range? Probably a low end closer. You're probably getting like a outfielder 4. Jurickson Profar, to be honest with you, probably something like that. I know Joe hates Profar, but like that type of range. Do you have anybody else?
He's the number 13th ranked starter this year. I think you could probably do pretty well depending on the person you're trading to.
Okay.
I think you could do a little bit better. Like I think it might be pushing it, but I think you could do better.
I think you could get underperforming like Jackson Merrill or Jarren Duran.
I think you could get Jackson Merrill for him in certain leagues. Yeah.
Well,
Merrill's got 5 homers and 1 steal this year. Like Merrill's been bad. I think you could make that trade. I think you could.
Okay. So I sold it low, too low. Luis Hill, worth picking up and stashing for a few weeks? Yeah or nay?
I wouldn't kill an active roster spot for him, but if you have a free IL space, then I don't mind it.
Well said. I completely agree with that. Would you buy low on Bailey Ober, who I think just went on the IL? Nope.
No, thank you.
Big old fat
next year, maybe.
Maybe. Westberg or Otto Lopez rest of the season?
Probably Lopez.
It's got to just be Lopez right now because things are just... They're messy. They're messy. Mike, hey, Welsh, thanks for answering my earlier question about Burns. Did you ever try the chimichanga? I've had 2 since I last mentioned them. I have not tried a chimichanga. I still have not. I don't even remember what it is anymore. So the chaos was going on. I don't remember one. We had a last second super chat in here, Sean. You sneaky at the last minute. Can't not get you. What do we think realistically happens with Yordan? Him being a second round pick for me is killing me. Abso-freaking-lutely he is. I've said this. I had this conversation with my friend Dennis Sidler, who just helped me with a lot of these great autographs here, that he's like, you should be really worried with that news of Yordan Alvarez and hiding the injury last year about drafting him this season. I bumped him down and then I put it like 3rd, 4th round. And then I kind of boosted him back up as he's like, oh, I'm healthy and things seem good. I think this is bad. This is really bad. Like, I'm not sure if we see him. I think they're going to push as hard as possible, not trading for him. I don't think there's a lot of trade value in trading him away right now. I think you're dead in the water with a guy like Yordan Alvarez, and it'll just be a lesson learned. Is there any better advice you have on that?
I don't know what the lesson is we take from it, though. Like, just avoid injury-prone players.
Yeah, if a guy had... I mean, I guess he did say he was healthy, but yeah, there's kind of an injury-based thing of like, he doesn't run. He's kind of had chronic issues. This was being hidden. Like, I think that's maybe a little bit of the thing that we learned is like, maybe you don't want the equity in a guy that has no stolen base equity, has had multiple injuries before, and is talking about like, oh yeah, by the way, I had this really bad injury that we hit all last year. Like, maybe you got to push him down.
Well, the Astros, I said it yesterday, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but not really. They should be investigated for how they report their injuries. With the Kyle Tucker shenanigans last year, Jeremy Pena earlier this week, we talked about it on Cleaning Up. They said on the 27th of June that he's fine. There's no fracture. 2 days later, there's a fracture. It's a complete joke. So maybe we just avoid Astros players. The thing with Yordan Alvarez is that he gave you that kind of base at the end of the first round, similarly to Vlad Jr., of presumably a 300 batting average with 30-plus homers. And it's very hard to find that later on in the drafts. But when you're talking about a guy who has the knee problems with the hand and everything else, I don't know where he goes next year, but it'll probably be too high again.
Friends, I mentioned to you that we had that article out of the buys and lows. You can check it out. I literally just tweeted it. If you follow me on Twitter, @isitthewelsh, 8 players that we should be buying or selling. And Joe Pisapia, myself, Mike Mayer, and the Wonky Penguin all submitted some names. If you want to go check that out, might be some names that we talked about, hopefully answer some questions. But that is it. We went a full hour. We pushed it. No under an hour, full hour. My friends, thank you so much. Wish we could have got to more. You guys killed it with the questions. Thank you for all the super chats. If we didn't get your questions in, make sure to join us live on Twitch, 12 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/FantasyPros. We answer questions on there as well. Tons here. That's why we got the super chat function, but you guys can get a sub if you want, free with Amazon Prime. So you get rid of ads, and then you can use some of the stuff to signify questions, and we'll kind of highlight them. But yeah, you got more. Make sure that you drop on over there, and then make sure you're back with us next week, 4 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. We are live every single week. Joe Pisapia will be back, but tomorrow it's Orrico and myself. Thank you to everybody here. I'm sorry we didn't answer your question. If we didn't, thank you to Seth for doing a great job producing. Y'all have a fantastic one, and we'll talk to you next time right here on Fantasy Pros. Peace out. Peace out.
Oh,
Chimichanga.
no.
Isn't that Deadpool? Deadpool likes chimichangas.
What even is a chimichanga? I don't even know what it is.
So it's called a fried burrito. That sounds amazing, actually.
I would not have guessed that.
I'm in.
Burrito. I'll try it.
Yeah,
Sure.
let's go.